My name is Frederick Regenold, and my book is Roscoe's Oscar. It has two parts. Hamburgers is first. It's the novel Roscoe writes after he loses his job in banking. The second part is Little Gold Man, which tells about Roscoe getting fired and how he comes to write his novel. It wins the Pulitzer Prize. It's also the source for a movie that wins the Academy Award. And the author, Roscoe Ledbetter, also wins an Oscar portraying the villain in the movie. It's fun. I think you'll enjoy it. I'd like to read the first chapter of Hamburgers for you now. This is how the two-part book begins. Southern California, 1971. Flat on his back, wearing purple pajamas and a large twin bed, his eyes wide open, unblinking, and fixed on the ceiling. Herbert Price apparently was dead. Around him were all the possessions which characterize a rich man. And he was a rich man. But the gentle rising and falling of his chest indicated he was not a dead man. A closer look, especially at the eyes of Herbert Price, revealed that he was very much alive and intensely engaged in some sort of mental activity. It was early dawn in his thickly draped bedroom and very quiet, except for the sound of ocean waves rhythmically pounding. In the other bed, his wife was quite asleep, completely unaware that her husband was watching his own personal movie on the ceiling. The cinematography, the dialogue, and the acting were superb, probably because the scenes were meticulously staged only in the mind of Herbert Price, again and again and again. He was presently viewing a sequence involving his father, now deceased, and himself. They walked quickly along a crowded downtown sidewalk, dodging other pedestrians as his father spoke. "This is where it all starts, Herb. We get the loan, the new location, and we've got ourselves a new future." The father smiled, hitting his son affectionately on the shoulder with his open palm. "I don't see how we can miss." They jogged across the street in order to make a traffic signal. "Yeah, it sounds great to me," young Price smiled back, jumping from the street onto the sidewalk. "You know you can count on me." "I know I can." His father stopped him, guiding him to a spot near the wall of an office building. "Okay, I brought you because I think it's good for you to start learning some of the banking end of the business. So keep your ears open. Try to watch what goes on. But if anything comes up, any questions or anything like that, let me do the talking, all right?" "Hey, easy, Dad. I'm the second greatest hamburger maker in the world, and I know how to wait on customers, but hey, I admit I don't know much about those numbers you're always playing around with. You won't hear a peep out of me." This is how you learn." He looked understandably into his son's eyes. "Let's go." They pushed through the big metal and glass revolving doors which led into the bank. There was nothing particularly unique in appearance about Ralph Price and his son as they moved across the marble floor. The father was 45, the son 23. Both were short, with dark hair and light complexions. The father was stout, the son very thin. Both wore white cotton clothes, which set them apart from most of the clientele in the financial institution. But after all, the Prices had rushed over between lunch and dinner, managing to reach the bank before it closed, leaving a skeleton crew at their business establishment. Ralph Price was known to all the members of the bank's staff, not only because of his frequent visits, but also due to his amiable, fun-loving mannerisms, while his son Herbert, who occasionally made deposits for his father, was a stranger to many of the tellers and clerks. The manager of the bank, Jack Perry, was talking on the telephone at his desk in the far corner of the loan department, and noticing Price and his son approaching, waved them over to the chairs at his desk. "Yes, I'll be talking to you later. Goodbye." After placing the phone on its receptacle, Perry turned to Ralph Price and stretched for a handshake. "Hello, Ralph. I'm glad you could break away for a few minutes. This is Herbert, isn't it?" He shook young Price's hand, too. "Yes, I thought I'd bring him along for a little education," said Ralph, as the three of them sat down at Perry's desk. "That's a good idea." Perry smiled and nodded his head enthusiastically, reaching for a folder of papers. He was a tall, swarthy man with horn-rimmed spectacles that continually slid down his nose during the conversation. Opening the folder and removing financial statements, he looked soberly at Ralph and began enunciating clearly and methodically. "I want to thank you for going to the trouble to prepare these latest statements. I'm well aware of the time and effort involved, and I appreciate it." He pushed his glasses back up on the bridge of his nose. "I've analyzed your balance sheet, profit and loss statement, receivables, payables, and sales. I've compared all of this with your last 3 fiscal year-end statements. I've done ratios on every conceivable category, annualizing this recent information to assure its applicability. I've also taken into consideration such factors as your experience and expertise in the retail food business. But in addition, Ralph, I've naturally had to weigh some of the negative points, like the uncertainty of our economic situation here, the fact that we have a world war on our hands, which adds more to the uncertainty. Also your son, he's your right-hand man, and I'm surprised he hasn't already been drafted into the military service." There was a 5-second silence in which Perry cleared his throat and corrected the position of his glasses. Herbert looked nervously at his father, whose normally fair complexion had taken on a rosy glow. The older Price was openly glowering. "The thing I want to make clear, Ralph, is that our bank feels a tremendous responsibility to a customer like you. We know what you've gone through because we've been lucky enough to have been your bank for over 10 years. Now it's we instead of I," young Herbert noticed. "You've been a loyal customer. You've kept good deposit balances with us, and you've always handled your account in a very satisfactory manner. But, well, we're a bank, as you know, trusted with other people's money, our depositors' money, some of which is yours, but not our money to lend or not lend, strictly as we see fit. The risk factors are very crucial, and we have to answer to the federal bank examiners, and believe me, they expect some concrete answers. Perry was obviously struggling to wring out of himself what he felt was a proper explanation. There are certain areas, certain types of loans that we cannot get into. And what I'm trying to clarify is that this loan for which you've applied, because wait a minute, Perry, wait a minute, the lips and jaw of Ralph Price were markedly stiff as he pushed out the words. You don't have to clarify a damn thing to me. It's about as clear as it can be. I've been busting my butt sweating in that hamburger grease, shoveling money in this bank longer than 10 years, a hell of a long time before you came to this office, Perry. But you naturally don't remember all that. You don't know anything about some of the crap I've had to wade through in order to get this far. He leaned toward the banker menacingly. And even if you did know about it, Perry, you wouldn't understand it. You couldn't, because you're a big company man. You might know how to analyze financial statements, receivables and payables, and those damn ratios, terrific. But what the hell's that got to do with the reality of running a business? I mean the responsibility of getting up every morning and making it go, whether you feel like it or not. What's it got to do with a man's ability, with me? Although he was dramatically gesticulating, he kept his voice at a loud whisper. Those are monetary end results. They don't say anything about me, the owner, the manager, the worker. That's just a lot of print on pieces of paper. You're damn right I've handled my accounts in a satisfactory manner. Satisfactory, my ass. Excellent manner. When have I ever been overdrawn? Never. When have I ever been late for a payment on any of the 2-bit loans I've had at this bank? Never. How does that fit into your financial analysis? And what about the size of my deposit balances? I think you'll find that it averages around $12,000. I also think if you'd analyzed my business the way you should have, you'd have noticed my restaurant a little more, the way it's organized, the kitchen, the way it's laid out, the way we treat our customers. How many of them come back regularly? And our hamburgers, what do you know about the ingredients, the quality? Come to think of it, in the 3 years or so since you've been manager of the office, I don't think I've ever seen you stick your nose in our place. Have you, Jack? Even if you didn't eat, just to say hello, just to see how we operate. Looks like that should be part of your analysis, too. Mr. Price, let me explain that Perry made a sincere effort to justify his decision. No. I tell you, Perry, there's nothing to explain. It couldn't be clearer. Young Price stared uncomfortably at a quartz ashtray on Perry's desk. For the first time since I've been your customer, continued Ralph Price, I've come to you with a truly important request, a request that can mean a fine future for my family, but one I intend to back up with all the hard work, pride, and responsibility I've always given to my business, because it's my life. It's all I have. But I'll tell you what, Mr. Banker, you take your ratios and you stick 'em up your ass, okay? Price rose slowly, and his son followed his example. And I'll take my deposit balances to another bank. Let's go, Herb. The phone rang, but it wasn't the one on Perry's desk. It was ringing from the night table next to Herbert Price's bed. The movie was interrupted. Price grabbed the phone fiercely, much in the same manner as he might have grabbed banker Perry by the throat had he been there. "Yeah, what's he doing?" he impolitely requested, sitting on the edge of his bed now. His wife, wearing a look of disgust, turned on her other side, looking away from her husband's bed. "Jesus Christ," he continued with revulsion. 13 5/8. Price pulled in a long, deep breath and blew it out. "That's it then. Talk to you later." His wife thought he had broken the phone when he hung it up. He snatched his personal alphabetized phone directory from under his night table, shoved the arrow indicator all the way up to the A position, and jammed his thumb down on the release button. As the top of the metallic directory sprang up, his index finger lunged at the name Richard T. Arnold, 458-1098. Dialing the number deliberately, he could picture Arnold already in his white shirt and tie, sipping coffee and perusing editorials in the morning newspaper. "Hello." It was a polished, resonant voice on the other end, and Price immediately recognized it as that of Richard Arnold. "Dick, this is Herbert Price." "Yes, good morning, Herb." "Dick, Price's wife was propped up on one elbow now, gaping at her husband's back. "I want you to have your letter of resignation on my desk by noon today." Arnold was still dressed in his emerald green pajamas. He had answered the telephone in his early American den near the bathroom, where he had been using a safety razor on his foamy face. During the past several weeks, he had not slept well, and now the realization of his nightmares had suddenly hit him in the left ear. "I see." He was not surprised, only stunned temporarily as he responded. There had been some question in his mind that it would come to this. "Very well, I'll compose something before I leave for the office." "Okay, thanks." Price hung up quickly. His wife permitted her head to slide back down on her pillow. An enormous tear streamed down her face. "And don't give me any of that crap about him being your favorite banker," Price said. Although he looked at the wall in front of him, his words were plainly intended for his wife, Ethel, whom he considered naive and maudlin. "I'm sick of sitting back on my butt, trying to be a nice guy and watching my stock go down to zilch. I didn't buy this goddamn bank for fun, you know." They both knew why he had bought the controlling interest in the bank, even if Price never discussed it. And they both knew in doing so, it was the only business blunder he had ever committed. Price was dialing again, and his wife thought she might know whom he was calling. She was right. "Ozzy, how the hell are you this morning?" "Still hanging in there, huh?" Yeah, you always say that." He laughed mechanically. "Listen, my friend, I'd like to get together with you this morning as early as possible. Something big has come up. It's pretty urgent, and I need to talk with you. How about dropping by the boat as soon as you can?" "Sure, fine. I'll be there waiting for you." There was a look of satisfaction on the face of Herbert Price when he took his hand off the phone. He talked again to the wall, but this time wearing a smile and in an entirely different tone of voice. I think we can pull it off, Ethel. And this is just a guy who can do it. I think it can be done. Got to do a little house cleaning, that's all. Chapter 1 ends here, but it's the beginning of a 2-part story you can find on Amazon. The title is Roscoe's Oscar. Give it a look. You'll like it.